This family video hides a terrifying secret. At first glance, it looks completely normal. A proud mother cheering in the crowd, two identical twin sisters celebrating one of the biggest moments of their lives, a wealthy family smiling together like everything is perfect. But sitting quietly nearby is a woman investigators would later connect to a murder conspiracy that would destroy this family forever. Within months, one family member would be shot while sleeping in bed, another would be arrested for murder, and two teenage sisters would become so terrified of their own mother, they began locking their bedroom doors at night, convinced they might be killed next. This is the disturbing true story of the Beard family murder plot. In 1993, identical twin sisters Jennifer and Christina were only 13 years old when their lives were torn apart by a bitter custody battle. After their parents divorced, the court decided the twins would live in separate states. Christina stayed in Austin, Texas with their mother Celeste, while Jennifer moved to Washington State with their biological father, Craig. For the sisters, the separation felt unbearable. They had spent their entire lives side by side. They shared everything: bedrooms, friends, secrets, and an emotional connection few people could understand. Living hundreds of miles apart made both girls feel incomplete, as if half of themselves had been taken away. For years, they counted down the days until they could finally see each other again. Then, in the summer of 1996, the twins reunited at their grandparents' home in California. The moment they saw each other, it was like nothing had changed. They laughed non-stop, stayed up late talking, and picked up right where they left off. But only days into the reunion, something felt wrong. Jennifer repeatedly tried calling her father Craig back in Washington, but nobody answered. Hours turned into days. The phone continued ringing with no response. Then the girls received horrifying news. Craig had been found dead inside his home. Authorities ruled the death a suicide. The loss shattered both sisters, especially Jennifer. Overnight, her entire future changed. Instead of returning to Washington, Jennifer moved to Austin to live with Christina, their mother Celeste, and Celeste's wealthy husband, Stephen Beard. At first, Steve seemed like the perfect stepfather. He was kind, generous, and treated the twins like his own daughters. He took Jennifer out for breakfast every Sunday, bought the girls gifts, and created the stable home they had always wanted. Eventually, Steve formally adopted both twins. To celebrate, he gifted each girl a special family ring, matching the one he wore himself. For Jennifer and Christina, it meant everything. After losing their biological father, Steve became the dependable parent they desperately needed. From the outside, the Beard family looked perfect. But behind closed doors, things were quietly beginning to unravel. In early 1999, Celeste met a woman named Tracy Tarleton, a bookstore manager from Austin. At first, Tracy simply appeared to be a close family friend. She attended birthday parties, family dinners, and even the twins' graduation ceremony. But the sisters quickly noticed something strange about the relationship. Tracy seemed emotionally attached to Celeste in a way that went far beyond friendship, and Celeste appeared to encourage it. As months passed, the relationship between the two women became increasingly intense. According to investigators, Celeste allegedly began convincing Tracy that Steve Beard was abusive, controlling, and standing in the way of their future together. Then, on October 2nd, 1999, everything changed. At around 2:30 in the morning, Christina was asleep in the family mansion when her bedroom door suddenly burst open. Her mother rushed inside in a panic, yelling that someone was outside the house. Police lights flashed through the windows, while sirens echoed outside. Confused and terrified, Christina ran downstairs and opened the front door to find police officers storming inside. They immediately asked one question. "Is your father home?" Christina pointed upstairs. Moments later, officers and paramedics rushed into Steve Beard's bedroom. He had been shot while sleeping in bed. Blood covered the room as paramedics desperately tried to save his life. Investigators quickly discovered a shotgun shell casing beside the bed. Someone had entered the house intending to kill him. As detectives questioned the family, Celeste quietly whispered something disturbing to Christina. "If the police ask who might have done this, don't mention Tracy." The statement immediately alarmed her. Why would her mother specifically mention Tracy Tarleton? At the hospital, detectives asked Christina if she suspected anyone. Despite her mother's warning, she told investigators about Tracy. Police quickly searched Tracy Tarleton's home. When detectives asked if she owned a shotgun, she admitted she did. She handed officers a 20-gauge shotgun with her own name engraved into the weapon. Ballistics testing confirmed investigators' fears. The shotgun matched the shell casing found beside Steve Beard's bed. Tracy Tarleton was arrested and charged with attempted murder, but detectives believed there was more to the story. Tracy had no clear motive to kill Steve on her own. Investigators suspected someone else had manipulated her into committing the crime. Meanwhile, Steve Beard fought for his life in the hospital for months while the twins stayed by his side. But eventually, complications from the shooting became too severe. Steve Beard died from his injuries. The case officially became a homicide investigation. Jennifer and Christina were devastated. They had already lost one father. Now they had lost another. But their grief soon turned into fear. While making funeral arrangements for Steve, Celeste suddenly pointed out 2 pink caskets and suggested buying them for the twins. The comment deeply disturbed both girls. Why would their mother casually discuss their future funerals? Over the following months, Celeste's behavior became increasingly erratic. The twins described explosive mood swings, emotional outbursts, and moments where she seemed strangely cheerful, while everyone else mourned Steve's death. Then, on February 16th, 2000, things spiraled completely out of control. According to the twins, Celeste suddenly suggested that all 3 of them should kill themselves. Moments later, she grabbed a knife and stabbed herself in the leg. Blood poured everywhere while Jennifer and Christina frantically called 911. After being hospitalized, Celeste repeatedly called the twins. The conversations became disturbing and unpredictable. One moment she sounded calm, the next she screamed uncontrollably. Christina eventually began secretly recording the phone calls, hoping to later show her mother how unstable she sounded. But during one conversation, Celeste made a shocking statement. She admitted she had hired someone to kill Tracy Tarleton. For Christina, everything suddenly made sense. The pink caskets, the warnings, the paranoia, the manipulation. The girls became convinced their mother had orchestrated Steve Beard's murder from the beginning. And now they feared they might be next. After Celeste was released from the hospital, the twins reportedly slept with locked bedroom doors and lived in constant fear. Friends and relatives worried for their safety, while investigators reopened the case with renewed focus. This time, detectives were no longer looking only at Tracy Tarleton. They were investigating Celeste Beard herself. Prosecutors eventually argued that Celeste manipulated Tracy emotionally and psychologically, convincing her that Steve Beard needed to die. They believed Celeste used Tracy's emotional instability and obsession to orchestrate the murder while distancing herself from the actual shooting. During trial, prosecutors revealed that Steve Beard's wealth played a major role in the case. If he died, Celeste stood to inherit millions. The defense argued Tracy acted alone, but when jurors heard the recordings secretly made by Christina, the case changed dramatically. Eventually, Celeste Beard was convicted of capital murder conspiracy and sentenced to prison. Tracy Tarleton was also convicted for her role in the killing. For Jennifer and Christina, the verdict brought relief, grief, and unimaginable betrayal all at once. The family they once believed was perfect had completely fallen apart. Their stepfather was dead, their mother was in prison, and the people they trusted most had become the people they feared most. Today, the Beard family case remains one of the most disturbing murder conspiracies in Texas history, not only because of the violence, but because of how ordinary everything appeared from the outside. To neighbors and friends, they looked like the perfect wealthy family. But behind closed doors was manipulation, obsession, betrayal, and eventually murder. And for Jennifer and Christina, the trauma didn't end with the convictions, because the people they once trusted most became the people they feared most. Sometimes the most dangerous threats aren't strangers hiding in the dark. Sometimes they're already sitting at the dinner table beside you. If you enjoyed this true crime documentary, make sure to subscribe for more disturbing real cases every week. And let me know in the comments, do you believe Tracy acted alone? Or was Celeste Beard the true mastermind behind the murder? Until next time, stay safe.